I wasn't expecting my ego to get wrecked by a girl, holding a clipboard and wearing a name tag that said housekeeping, manager, but there she was, standing in the marble lobby of the Winston Grand Hotel in downtown Austin, Texas, and telling me, the actual heir of the hotel chain, that I was not allowed to walk through the staff hallway. Sir, she said with this firm, almost prim tone, that area is restricted to employees only. I gave her my most charming grin. Sweetheart, I own the hallway, her eyes narrowed. No, you don't. Mr. Winston does. That would be me. She blinked, then looked me up and down like she was deciding whether to call security or throw the clipboard at my face. You're him? She asked slowly. Last time I checked. Do you need to see ID, or will my face on the About Us page of our website do? The corner of her lips twitched, almost a smile, before she caught herself. Then maybe, Mr. Winston, you should set an example for your employees and stop using service corridors like shortcuts. I laughed. You're adorable when you lecture. I'm not adorable, she said, dead serious. She was wrong. She was the definition of it. Delicate features, soft brown hair tied back, a small frown that deepened whenever I smirked. But what really threw me off was the tone. Calm, controlled, like she wasn't impressed or intimidated. Most people either kissed up or backed off. She did neither. What's your name? I asked, intrigued. Lena Morales. Well, Lena Morales, I said, leaning slightly forward. You just told the CEO where he can and can't walk. That takes guts. Or ignorance, she met my gaze. Respectfully, sir, I don't think being the CEO means you get to ignore rules you expect the rest of us to follow. For a moment, I forgot the usual snappy comeback. It wasn't her words. It was how she said them. Calm, unapologetic, but not rude. Then I smiled. You're new. 1 week. Welcome to the circus, I said lightly. I'll try not to get in your way, unless I want to. That earned me a raised eyebrow and a muttered, I'll make sure you don't. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that defiance is strangely addictive. I'd met women who flirted, women who pretended not to care, and women who really didn't. But Lena, she had this quiet steel. She wasn't playing hard to get. She genuinely didn't care about me. And that was new. So naturally, I started finding reasons to cross her path. 2 days later, I caught her reorganizing the floral displays in the main dining area. You again, she said, not even glancing up. You sound disappointed. I'm busy. So am I. But multitasking builds character. She finally looked up. Do you ever take anything seriously? Not unless it's life-threatening, or financially ruinous, or fun, she exhaled, frustrated but amused. You really think money is a personality trait, don't you? It's a lifestyle, I said. Like yoga, but with better clothes. That made her laugh, against her will. It was quick and quiet, but it was there. See? I grinned. You're warming up to me, she rolled her eyes. I'm warming up to the idea of earplugs, I laughed again. You're feisty, Lena Morales. I like it. That afternoon, my father called from New York, the patriarch of the Winston Empire, a man whose voice could freeze champagne. You need to start taking your position seriously, Nathaniel, he said. Investors are losing patience with your lifestyle. Ah, yes.
The lifestyle.
The parties, the women, the tabloid photos. All true, though I'd argue I look damn good in them. But lately, and I hated admitting this, the thrill was fading. The clubs felt louder, the laughter hollower, and when Lena's voice echoed in my head, you really think money is a personality trait? I couldn't shake the sting. The next morning, I walked into the employee training room for an unannounced inspection. It was my father's idea of punishment. Start from the bottom. See how your hotel actually runs. To my surprise, Lena was leading the orientation. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw me. Oh no, she muttered under her breath. Good morning, everyone, I said cheerfully. Please pretend I'm not here. One of the staff members whispered, That's the boss? Lena folded her arms. Mr. Winston, we're in the middle of a session. Carry on, I said, taking a seat in the back. I just want to observe. She hesitated, then continued, explaining procedures for guest complaints. Her tone was confident, her presence commanding. She had the kind of natural authority that didn't need volume. When she handed out forms, our fingers brushed briefly. She pulled back quickly, flustered. I almost smiled, so she wasn't entirely immune. At the end, I clapped lightly. Excellent session. You make the company look good, she frowned. That wasn't the goal. It worked anyway, I said. That earned me a half smile before she turned away. By the end of the week, the staff cafeteria was buzzing with gossip. The boss and the new manager, they whispered. It wasn't true, yet. But the more I saw her, the more I wanted to unravel her calm. To see what she looked like when she wasn't perfectly composed. Then one afternoon, fate, or maybe my own arrogance, did the unraveling for me. I'd hosted a lunch meeting with investors in the executive suite. Afterward, I walked into the lobby and where Lena was standing beside a maintenance worker arguing in hushed tones. What's going on? I asked. She turned sharply. A guest slipped near the pool area. The safety mats weren't replaced after cleaning. That's unacceptable, I said, glancing at the worker. It's my responsibility, Lena said quickly. I approved the area for use before it was ready. Her honesty caught me off guard. Most managers would have blamed someone else. You could have just blamed him, I said, nodding at the worker. I don't do that, she said. I studied her. You really believe in accountability, don't you? Yes, even when it's inconvenient. Interesting philosophy. Doesn't get you very far in business. I'm not here for business, Mr. Winston. I'm here for a job I can be proud of. That hit deeper than I wanted. Before I could respond, a sharp voice cut through the air. Nathaniel Winston. It was my father. He was standing at the entrance, flanked by board members, eyes locked on Lena and me. What is this? He demanded. A hotel or a soap opera? You're standing in the lobby arguing with staff in front of guests? The board members exchanged looks. Cameras flashed. Some guests had their phones out. Lena stepped back immediately. Sir, this was my fault, my father interrupted. Your fault or his, it's still embarrassing. Mr. Winston Jr., you clearly need supervision. He turned to Lena. You'll assist him directly for the next 3 months. If he's going to run this hotel, he'll learn how it actually operates, and through you. Her mouth fell open. What? My stomach sank. You can't be serious. I'm deadly serious, my father said. Effective immediately. He walked away, leaving the two of us standing there in stunned silence. I exhaled slowly. Well, I said finally, congratulations, Ms. Morales. You're my new babysitter. She glared at me. Trust me, I'm not happy about it. Good, I said. Because if I have to spend 3 months with someone watching my every move, I'd at least prefer someone interesting. Interesting? She repeated. Infuriatingly so, she crossed her arms. You're impossible. And you're stuck with me, I said with a grin. Starting tomorrow, her eyes narrowed. You'll regret this. I already do. But as she turned to walk away, I couldn't help smiling, because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't thinking about the next party, the next fling, or the next distraction. I was thinking about her, and I had 3 months to figure out why. There are worse things than being stuck with a woman who looks like sunshine and glares like a thunderstorm, like, for example, being forced to actually show up to work at 8 a.m. It's been a week since my father announced that Lena Morales would supervise me, which, translated from corporate to English, meant I was on probation with a moral compass for a babysitter. She arrived every morning exactly at 7:30, clipboard in hand, bun neat, expression determined. I arrived 15 minutes late, coffee in hand, shirt slightly unbuttoned. Expression hungover. We made quite the pair. Good morning, she said curtly. The first day of our new arrangement. Define good, I said. Let's start with you showing up on time. I smirked. You wound me, Morales. I'm trying my best. Try harder, she said, turning toward the elevators. We're starting with the kitchen inspection. The kitchen? I groaned. That's below my pay grade. Then it's time you earn it. The kitchen was chaos. Steam, clattering pans, shouting chefs. Lena moved through it like she'd been born for order. I, on the other hand, was trying not to ruin my loafers in spilled sauce. She was explaining safety standards to a cook when a pot of boiling water tipped dangerously near her. I reacted on instinct, grabbing her by the waist and pulling her back. The pot crashed, water splashing across the floor. For a second, neither of us moved. My arm was still around her waist, her hands pressed against my chest. Her breath hitched just once, then she stepped back flustered. Thank you, she said quickly, not meeting my eyes. Any time, I said softly. Although next time, maybe you could just admit you like being saved by me. Her eyes shot up. Don't push your luck, Mr. Winston, I grinned.
It's Nathaniel.
Or Nate, if you're feeling reckless. She turned away, muttering something about arrogance, but her ears were pink. Over the next week, she dragged me through every corner of the hotel. Maintenance, housekeeping, accounting, concierge. I learned that our operation ran on hard work I'd never noticed, and that Lena somehow knew every name, every problem, every detail. She remembered birthdays, diffused staff disputes, fixed scheduling conflicts before they became disasters. It was humbling. One afternoon, as we reviewed guest satisfaction reports, I found myself watching her instead of listening. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, focused and steady, completely unaware of how effortlessly beautiful she looked. You're staring, she said without looking up. You're imagining things. No, she said, glancing up with a smirk. You definitely were, I laughed. Fine. Guilty. But in my defense, you make corporate paperwork look better than it has any right to. She shook her head. Flattery doesn't work on me. Good thing I'm not trying to flatter you, I said. I'm just stating facts. That earned me another half smile before she turned back to her papers. By the second month, something had shifted. The banter was still sharp, but less defensive. We'd started having lunch together in the staff courtyard, a small patch of sunlight and benches where she liked to sit. I usually teased her about her boring salad. She teased me about my expensive taste in sandwiches. One day I asked, why hotels? You don't strike me as the hospitality type. She looked thoughtful. My mom used to clean rooms in a hotel. I'd help her on weekends. I promised myself I'd get to management one day, so women like her would have better conditions. I leaned back, quiet for a moment. That's noble, she smiled faintly. It's not noble. It's personal. Still, I said, you could have chosen easier goals. I don't like easy, I chuckled. That explains a lot, she looked up. And you? Why hotels? My father decided when I was 10, I said. Said the empire would need a successor, she frowned. And what did you want? No one had ever asked me that before. I don't know, I admitted. I guess I never thought about it. I was too busy living up or down to expectations. Her voice softened. That sounds lonely, I didn't answer. But the truth sat heavy between us. The next day, gossip hit the staff like wildfire. A tabloid headline, Hotel Heir seen partying with socialite in Miami. Lena found me in my office, phone in hand, expression unreadable. Is it true? She asked. Define true, I said cautiously. Her eyes narrowed. Did you fly out and party while I was covering your meetings? Technically, yes. But her jaw tightened. You really don't care, do you? About the party? No. About you being mad? Maybe. This isn't a joke, Mr. Winston, she said sharply. You can't keep proving your father right, I sighed. You think I wanted that photo out there? It's old. The media digs up anything they can. Maybe stop giving them material. Her disappointment stung more than my father's threats ever did. For 2 days, she barely spoke to me beyond business. The silence was torture. I caught myself waiting for her dry remarks, her disapproving glances, anything. Finally, I cornered her in the lobby after a meeting. Morales, can you stop avoiding me? I'm not avoiding you, she said curtly. Really? Because you've managed to be in every room I'm not in, she crossed her arms. You're my boss. I'm maintaining professionalism. Professionalism? I echoed. You mean pretending we don't talk, don't joke, don't... I stopped myself. Fine, be professional. But don't rewrite what happened. Her gaze softened for a fraction of a second. Nathaniel, I'm trying to keep my job. People already talk. I don't care what they say. I do, she said quietly. I worked too hard to be reduced to gossip. That shut me up. A few days later, a conference brought in major investors. My father flew in, of course. The ballroom gleamed, the cameras flashed, and I was supposed to give the opening speech. Lena stood near the back, clipboard in hand, watching. Halfway through my speech, one of the projectors malfunctioned. Smoke, lights flickering, guests murmuring. Panic rippled through the room. Lena was already moving, directing staff, ushering guests out calmly. I followed, helping where I could, and by some miracle, no one got hurt. When it was over, I found her outside, catching her breath. "You handled that like a pro," I said. She smiled tiredly. "Just another day at work," I shook my head. "You're incredible." She looked up at me, surprised. "I mean it," I said. "You saved my reputation today, again." "Nathaniel," "Lena," I interrupted, stepping closer. "Why do you do that?" "Pretend you don't care?" "Because caring makes things complicated." "Too late," I said softly. Her breath hitched. "You're my boss." "Not forever." We stood there, sunlight spilling through the glass doors, the air between us electric. Then my father's voice boomed behind us. "Nathaniel!" We jumped apart. He strode over, glaring. "Enough distractions. You're not paid to flirt with employees." Lena's face went pale. "Sir, it wasn't—" "Save it," he said coldly. "I warned you, son. You'll never learn." He turned to me. "Pack your things. You're off the Austin property for now. Effective immediately," Lena gasped. "You can't just—" "It's my company," my father snapped. And this arrangement clearly failed. He stormed off before either of us could reply. Lena turned to me, stricken. "Nathaniel, I'm so sorry." "Don't," I said quietly. "It's not your fault. But you're being punished because of me." "Maybe I deserve it," I said. "But he's not taking me off this property without a fight." Her eyes searched mine. "You can't argue with him. You'll make it worse." "Then maybe it needs to get worse before it gets better." She shook her head, stepping closer. "You don't have to prove anything." I looked at her for a long moment. "You're wrong, Lena. I have to prove something. To him, to you, maybe to myself." Before she could respond, the hotel's public announcement system buzzed, an emergency maintenance alert. A burst pipe on the top floor. We ran upstairs with the staff, water flooding the hallway. As we coordinated the evacuation, Lena slipped on the wet tile. I caught her again. Holding her steady, her eyes met mine, wide and breathless. "You really have a habit of falling when I'm around," I murmured. She laughed shakily. "And you have a habit of catching me." For a moment, everything else, water, chaos, shouting, faded. Then a loud crack echoed above us. A ceiling panel broke loose. I pulled her close, shielding her as it crashed down nearby. When the noise settled, she was trembling in my arms. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded, voice shaky. "You could have been hurt." "Worth it," I said softly. She stared at me, eyes glistening. "Nathaniel!" But before she could finish, staff rushed in, shouting updates. The moment shattered. She pulled away, turning toward the commotion. "We need to handle this." "Right," I said quietly. As she moved to help, I watched her, heart pounding. I'd fallen for her, harder than I'd ever planned to fall for anyone. And just as I realized it, my phone buzzed with a message from my father. "Pack up. You're on the next flight out. No arguments." I looked up, watching Lena directing staff with calm precision, unaware of what awaited. This wasn't over. Not yet. But I knew one thing for sure. Leaving her was going to hurt more than anything I'd ever run from. The thing about leaving is, you never realize what you've walked away from until silence starts sounding like her voice. It's been 3 weeks since my father pulled me out of Austin. 3 weeks of empty penthouses, meaningless meetings, and pretending I didn't care that every coffee tasted wrong without Lena Morales scolding me for being late. I told myself I'd get over it. I told myself she'd move on. Neither happened. Then one morning, my assistant walked in holding a tablet. "Sir, there's an article trending about the Winston Grand in Austin." I took it. Scrolling through the headline, "Hotel faces PR crisis after staff resignation and service collapse." The photos hit harder than I expected. Lobbies understaffed. Guests complaining. Morale tanked. And in the center of it all, Lena, in a photo taken without her knowledge, trying to calm guests while visibly exhausted. She hadn't quit. She was holding the place together while everything fell apart. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the airport. When I walked back into the Austin property 3 hours later, the lobby didn't have its usual polish. The air smelled faintly of cleaning chemicals and stress. A receptionist blinked at me. "Mr. Winston? We weren't expecting—" "Yeah," I said. "That's kind of the point." I found her in the staff hallway, hair slightly messy, sleeves rolled up, clipboard clutched like armor. She froze when she saw me. "You're not supposed to be here. Neither is chaos," I said. But here we are, her jaw tightened. If your father finds out, he will, I said simply. But he'll have to catch me first. She sighed, exasperated in something else. You shouldn't have come back. Then why do you look like you're glad I did? She blinked, caught off guard. I took a slow step closer. You've been running this place without me. Someone had to, she said. I saw the article, I said softly. You didn't deserve that mess. It's fine, she said. I'm managing. No, I said. You're surviving. There's a difference, her eyes flashed. Don't come here acting like a hero, Nathaniel. You're the reason your father… I know, I interrupted. And I'm done hiding behind him. She stared at me, unsure whether to believe it. An hour later, I called an emergency staff meeting in the conference room. The team looked nervous, whispering. My father's orders were clear. I was suspended, but I wasn't playing by his rules anymore. Listen up, I said. I know things have been rough. My father's been managing from New York, but that ends today. This hotel's not just a brand, it's a family. And families don't fall apart because of distance or bad press. Lena stood at the edge of the room, arms crossed, but her eyes softened as I spoke. I made mistakes, I continued. I treated this place like a playground instead of a legacy. But you, every single one of you, kept it alive. That changes now. A ripple of applause broke out. Small, hesitant, but real. I looked at Lena. Especially you. She shook her head slightly, trying not to smile. The next few days were chaos, but controlled chaos. I worked 16-hour shifts beside her, cleaning up the mess my father's absence had left. For the first time, I wasn't delegating. I was doing. When staff saw me hauling boxes and checking maintenance reports, word spread fast. The playboy heir was finally working. Lena kept her distance at first, watching. But by day 3, she started handing me extra paperwork and smirking when I complained. One afternoon, as we reviewed invoices, she said quietly, "You've changed." Don't sound so surprised, I said. I'm not surprised, she said. Just impressed, I smiled. Careful, Morales. You're dangerously close to complimenting me. She rolled her eyes but didn't deny it. Of course. The universe hates peace. My father showed up unannounced 2 days later, flanked by investors. The lobby fell silent as he walked in, sharp suit, colder stare. Nathaniel. Father, I said evenly. I gave you direct orders. You disobeyed. Correct, I said. And saved your hotel. The board members shifted uncomfortably. He looked around. This place looks functional. Because Lena held it together, I said. While you tried to run it from a distance. His gaze flicked to her. You, she straightened. Sir, you encourage this? He asked. No, she said honestly. But I didn't stop him either. He exhaled sharply. Do you have any idea how unprofessional this is? I stepped forward. Actually, it's the most professional thing that's happened here in months. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. You're throwing away your inheritance for a manager? No, I said. I'm earning it. With her help, the board murmured. My father's jaw tightened. You think one act of defiance redeems you? No, I said quietly. But maybe 3 months beside someone who actually believes in integrity does. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned on his heel. We'll discuss this privately. Fine, I said. But I'm not walking out again. The private meeting lasted an hour. When I emerged, the tension was gone from my chest for the first time in years. My father had agreed, reluctantly, to let me stay. Not because I argued, but because the numbers spoke for themselves. Under Lena's leadership, guest satisfaction had risen, costs stabilized, and staff turnover dropped. She'd done what I couldn't. And I wasn't leaving without telling her. I found her on the terrace, sorting through reports under the afternoon sun. She looked up as I approached. How did it go? He's letting me stay, I said. Her shoulders relaxed. Good, the hotel needs stability, I nodded slowly. Yeah, it does. Silence settled between us. Warm, steady, almost comfortable. Finally, I said, You know, when this started, I thought you were just another obstacle my father threw at me. She smiled faintly. And now? Now I know you were the only reason I stopped running. She looked away, flustered. Don't say things like that. Why not? I said softly. They're true, she exhaled, shaking her head. Nathaniel, we can't what? I asked, stepping closer. Be honest? Because I'm tired of pretending this is just business. Her eyes searched mine, torn. You don't even know what you want. Yes, I do, I said. I want to stay home instead of going out. I want to walk into the lobby and see you scolding me about schedules. I want this hotel, our chaos, our mess, you. She blinked, stunned. You're serious? Deadly, her voice trembled. Nathaniel, I don't want to be another story for you. You're not, I said. You're the reason the story changed. Her eyes glistened. You're impossible, I smiled faintly. So are you. And then, before either of us could second guess it, I leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't planned. It wasn't perfect. But it was real, raw, quiet, filled with everything we hadn't said for months. When I pulled back, she was breathless. You really shouldn't have done that, she whispered. I know, I said. But I'm done doing what I should. The following week, the Winston Grand officially reopened under new management, ours. My father, in a rare display of pride, announced that I'd been promoted to regional director. Lena was officially my operations partner. She rolled her eyes when she saw the new plaques with our names. I liked it better when you were just annoying, she said. Don't worry, I said. I can still be that. She smiled, shaking her head. A month later, on a bright Friday afternoon, we stood in the lobby watching guests check in. She said quietly, Do you ever miss it? Miss what? The parties. The noise, the freedom. I looked at her, then around at the hotel, alive and humming again. No, I said. I used to go out every night trying to find something worth staying for. Turns out it was right here the whole time. She looked up at me, smiling softly. I stayed home because you were here, I said, and somehow that made everything else make sense. She reached out, fingers brushing mine briefly before she turned to greet a guest. Watching her, I realized the old version of me, the one who needed attention, noise, chaos, was gone. In his place stood someone who finally understood what it meant to build something worth keeping. And maybe, just maybe, love wasn't about the chase. It was about the moment you stopped running. Subscribe to Romance Chronicles, where every playboy finds his match and every heart learns to stay. Don't miss the next story. Hit subscribe, like, and turn on the bell.